Welcome back, Legion. Today I want to share with you guys some information about game time nutrition. So I wanted to discuss a few points about how you can optimize your nutrition around your sporting events. Now, there can be many different strategies depending on the way your competition is structured. But I'm just going to give you a general overview of kind of what it looks like to eat prior to a competition, so the day before or so, the day of, and then potentially what you should do afterwards. So it's really important to take advantage of this nutritional window, and you can optimize what you eat as a way to get your body just to have certain outcomes. Your nutrition can definitely have a positive and or negative effect on your performance. The right foods can boost your performance and the wrong foods can negatively impact your performance. So for me, it actually starts during the week. It can even start 12 weeks prior to the competition realistically, because ideally what you want to do is not wait until the event to change certain strategies. Ideally, you want to build up to the event and work on your nutritional strategies prior to the event taking place. But let's just say you haven't afforded yourself the time to do that, and there's about a week to go before your competition starts. Now, it's important for me to stress that it's probably better if you don't try and change too much. Like, don't start trying to introduce new foods that you haven't eaten either ever or for a very long time. Your body has to react and take on that new bit of information, and it can have negative effects. If you haven't eaten some before, or you haven't taken a supplement or something that you want to try, and you're doing it the day of the game, it could have seriously adverse effects and you don't even know that it's going to occur. So if you are going to try things, you should try it well in advance outside of your competition window. And this is where you can use things like your pre-season and even training sessions prior to the competition to experiment with a few different nutritional strategies leading into your competition. Okay, so probably one of the most well-known pieces of information about game time nutrition is carb loading, this concept of carb loading. Now, I'm not necessarily going to call it a myth because it's not necessarily false. It is a real thing, but it gets utilized in the wrong way. So carb loading is actually more of an endurance sports strategy, and it can work really well. But to actually carb load properly, you need a period of restriction. So you should actually be looking at like reducing your carbohydrates significantly, 3 to 4 days prior to your competition, and then gradually reloading back up towards competition. Now this kind of overcompensates your body's ability to store glycogen, which obviously for an endurance athlete is really important to take on as much reserve fuel as possible, because they're not going to be able to take on as much during the actual event. Now, unless your event is going for significantly longer than 2 hours of continuous exercise, I probably wouldn't bother with this strategy. Carb loading is not necessarily for you. Now, what you can do is the night before your competition, again, you don't want to mix it up too much, but you want to have a nice balance of protein. If you're a female, 1 palm. If you're a male, 2 palms for a serving size. 1 to 2 fists of vegetables, 1 for a female, 2 for a male. 1 to 2 cupped hands of carbohydrates, ideally starchy carbohydrates such as rice, pasta, breads, all of these slower digesting carbohydrates, and 1 to 2 thumbs worth of fats. Ideally, whole sources like nuts, olives, avocados. You can even use fish as a great example there. So you want a nice balanced meal the night before your competition. Now, breakfast is pretty much the same. You want that kind of ratio, but again, eat foods that you normally have. And look, if you've already experimented and you have a favorite breakfast that works well with you, just go with that again. Now, depending on when your actual competition starts, you may have to have lunch And it's just the same again. Try and go with things that are a little bit easier to digest though. And this is why, prior experimentation, prior to competition experimentation can actually become really critical, because you can start to work out what works well with you beforehand, so you don't have to experiment and risk it all with the competition time. Now, specifically coming up to the competition, right before the comp, you've got basically two choices. Some people get overwhelmed with nerves, and that's fine. They don't want to eat anything. Don't eat anything. If you've had a good dinner and a good breakfast, you've actually probably got enough fuel to support your endeavors. If you are someone that doesn't mind having something to eat or consume something prior to a competition, just make sure that it's quite light and easily digestible. You don't want something that's going to sit in your stomach and just swell while you're trying to play. Now, this kind of comes back to the nervous system and the way the body, when it's active and in kind of fight or flight mode, like when you're training hard or exercising hard, your body's ability to digest food significantly decreases, because blood is now heavily spread out to the working muscles and your heart and your lungs. So that's where most of your blood has gone, and some of that blood has been taken from the stomach and the gut. So you don't have as much supply and function throughout the gut, so you're not digesting your food as well as what you could. So having something light and easily digestible is a good strategy. Only take stimulants if you have taken stimulants before. These are probably the things that can have adverse effects. It can either get you too jacked up, or you can have a very crashing effect, and it can make you very jittery and unfocused. So be very careful with stimulants. Again, try them out in your training session before you try it in a competition setting. During your sporting event, probably the most carryover from a nutrition sports point of view, depending on the event, if it's high intensity and very aerobic power based, where you have to repeat effort stuff, your main substrate is going to be carbohydrates, which gets broken down into glucose, which gets broken down into glycogen for storage. So essentially, you're just trying to top up your glycogen stores, or fuel your muscles with glucose for immediate energy. So this is where, Gatorade and even sports gels can actually become quite handy. Super simple sugars. The good thing about the Gatorade is it also has electrolytes in it, which is something that you lose quite a fair bit from and can dehydrate you. And hydration is absolutely critical during sport, because even a 1% loss in body weight can be a 1% reduction in performance as well, can have a significant dent on your performance output. You can also have branched chain amino acids. I would probably only do this if you've got like backup games, if you've got multiple games in one day or multiple games over a weekend. The branched chain amino acids they're a really easily digestible form of protein. And I found them quite good because they can help aid recovery and help you back up from game to game, because that's going to be a really big thing if you've got multiple games over a weekend, is that your ability to recover, back up, and then go again is going to be super important. So the branched chain amino acids can actually have a very positive effect. And then last but not least is your post-game nutrition. And again, depending on whether it's to promote immediate recovery for then and there for the next day, or then and there for the next week. Probably the biggest thing to focus on here is protein. Proteins are your muscle builders. Your muscles have obviously worked really hard. There's going to be a small amount or a certain amount of muscle damage that your body needs to heal and recover from. Top that up with a little bit of carbohydrate as well. Again, I don't think you need to be overzealous with your carbohydrate at this point. If you've been having your carbohydrates during your game as well, you just need enough just to top up potentially what you've lost. And then most importantly, some vegetables. So many people skip over vegetables, but you do need to top up your vitamins and minerals that you would have lost through sweat and exertion. Okay guys, that's a basic template. Let me know how you go. Hopefully it helps. Cheers.